In this video, we're going to go over the Unit 10 study guide. So make sure you guys try the study guide before watching the video, and then use this as an answer key. So question 1, if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and pause the video now. Solve it by factoring, which means factor it, find the roots, vertex, y-intercept, and then graph each key point. Alright, so I'm going to graph y equals x squared plus 8x plus 12. And my strategy is guess and check. So I'm going to set up my two parentheses. Okay. And to lead off the parentheses, it should be an x and x, because that's what makes x squared. And to get 12, I can do 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4. They're going to both have to be positive because this is positive and this is positive. And to make an 8, it's going to be 2 and 6. So I'm getting x plus 2, x plus 6. So that is factoring it. So hopefully you guys have that factor correct. And then what we do next is we set it equal to 0 after we factor. And we go ahead and figure out what are the x values that would make this true. So I've got x plus 2. I need to set that equal to 0, and x plus 6 set equal to 0. If I was to solve, I'm subtracting 2, and I get x equals negative 2. If I subtract 6, I get x equals negative 6. So we just solved this one by factoring. Okay? Name the roots. The roots are where it crosses the x-axis, so it's really the solution. So what we just found are the roots. Negative 2, 0 is one of our roots, and negative 6, 0 is the other one. Alright, now it wants me to find the vertex, but in order to find the vertex, I need to plot those roots down. So if I go over here, and I plot those points, negative 2, and negative 6, the vertex is going to take place in the middle of those two numbers, right? So I need to figure out what is the distance between those two numbers, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So I need to take 4 and split that in half. So 2 units over. So this dotted line here is the axis of symmetry. Okay, so what is the axis of symmetry? It splits the 2 points in half, and it's also where the vertex is located. So my axis of symmetry is at 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's at negative 4. X equals negative 4. Okay, so axis of symmetry, you use it to find the vertex. So I'm going to take this negative 4, and I'm going to plug it in to my equation. Okay, so if I take negative 4 and plug it in, parentheses, negative 4 squared plus 8 parentheses, negative 4 plus 12, I'm getting negative 4. So the vertex point should be negative 4, negative 4. Let me plot that. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, find the y-intercept. So now I'm going to go ahead and plot that y-intercept. It is at 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I didn't give you enough space. I'll try to make sure that I can give you one that is on the graph for the test. But if it's not, just do what I did. Plot a point a little above. Okay, so that y-intercept is at 0, 12. If you're wondering how I found that, remember, it's just the last number here, as long as it's in standard form. And then the last piece that I'm going to do is I'm going to reflect this point over. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 away. So I'm going to go 4 away the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to plot that point. You should have a total of 5 points before you graph. Alright, so there's your answer to number 1. That one was solving by factoring. Remember that the solutions are where it crosses. So that's the main part, but I am asking you to identify these other parts as well. So vertex and y-intercept. Let's take a look at number 2. I'll let you guys give it a try first. So pause the video now. and see if you can answer number 2. Your goal is to do it by completing the square. Okay, go ahead and do that. For question 2, you're completing the square. Although this one is factorable, you're going to have to complete the square in order to get full credit. So these are the steps that we did for completing the square. First, we set it equal to 0. Then we move the c term over to the other side because we're trying to turn the left-hand side into a perfect square trinomial. Okay, so I moved that c term to the other side. So I got x squared minus 6x equals negative 8. And now I've got to figure out what am I going to add to both sides of the equation to make it a perfect square. So the process that we did is we take half of b, so half of negative 6, which is negative 3, and we have to square that. That's what needs to be added. So negative 3 squared is 9. Remember, you're always adding to both sides. Alright, now the left-hand side is a perfect square. So this is going to turn into x minus 3 squared. That's the factored form of it, remember? Hang on one second. Alright, I'm back. X minus 3 squared equals negative 8 plus 9 is 1. Now I got to square root both sides. Square root. These eliminate. I get x minus 3 equals plus or minus 1 because that's the square root of 1. And now we can set up our two answers. We have x minus 3 equals 1. And x minus 3 equals negative 1. If we solve both of those, on the one on the left, I add the 3 to the 1 and I get 4. So I'm going to get x equals 4. And then on the one to the right, if I add the 3 to a negative 1, I get 2. So 4 and 2. All right. Have it solved. Now I want to go ahead and plot those points. 2. 4, those are on the x-axis because that's what a root is. Now I want to figure out what is the vertex. The vertex is in the middle of those 2 points. So this is a distance of 2, so if I take half of it, it's just 1 unit away. So I'm going over 1 unit from both points, and that's the middle. So there is my vertex. What is that vertex? Or there's my axis of symmetry, I mean. So what is that value? 1, 2, 3. X equals 3 is your axis of symmetry. Okay, and then the vertex point, I need to plug this number in. So just like we did on the one above where we plugged a negative 4 in for the equation, I'm plugging a 3 in this time. So if I plug a 3 in, I have 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 8. That's what I'm evaluating. And I got negative 1. So my vertex is 3, negative 1. 3, negative 1, plot that point. Okay, next step is the y-intercept. This time it's up at 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plot that point. And then this is 3 units away. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Reflect that point. And there you go. You've got your 5 points to make a good, accurate graph of your parabola. Okay, so there is completing the square and factoring. Let's transition to the back page. So on this one, we're going to use the quadratic formula. I'm going to be giving you this the day of the test, so I'm going to write this down now. Negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Give it a try, plug everything in, and then come back when you're ready to check your work. Okay, hopefully you've tried question number 3. We're going to go over the answers now. So the first step is to identify your a, b, and c value. A is 2, b is 1, c is negative 10. Now we're going to insert those into the quadratic formula and simplify. So we have negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 10. And that is all over 2 times 2, since a is 2. Okay, let's simplify. Negative 1 plus or minus. And I'm going to go ahead and just do everything underneath the square root right now. So if I do 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 10, I get 81. And the square root of 81 is 9. So once you start getting the hang of it, you can just do all of that in one step. And now I'm going to come up with my two answers. Negative 1 plus 9, that's 8. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So one of my roots is x equals 2. Okay, and then my other root, negative 1 minus 9, that's negative 10. Negative 10 divided by 4 is negative 2.5. So x equals negative 2.5. Okay, so now I can go plot those points. Those are my roots. So I'm going to plot a point at 2 and negative 2.5, so roughly right in that area. Okay, and remember the vertex takes place in the middle of those. So I've got to figure out what's that distance. So we talked about really what we're doing is we're just averaging our roots. So if I do 2 plus negative 2.5, that's negative 0.5, and then divide that by 2, that's negative 0.25. So if you're wondering what I just did, is I averaged the roots. I did 2 plus negative 2.5. I divided that by 2. That's the average, and I got negative 0.25. So the vertex is going to take place on the axis of symmetry, and the axis of symmetry is negative 0.25. So I'm going to go ahead and do my best graph of negative 0.25. Okay, so that's the middle. X equals negative 0.25. All right, so now that I have that point, I'm going to insert that into the equation. So I'm inserting the negative 0.25 in for x. 2 parentheses, negative 0.25 parentheses squared, plus parentheses, negative 0.25 into parentheses minus 10. And I'm getting negative 10.125. So this is going to be my vertex point. It's a weird one, but this is what I have. Negative 0.25, negative 10.125.
Attention students and staff. At this time,
I'll go ahead and plot that point. That would be right here-ish. Okay. I've got that point. I need the y-intercept. The y-intercept is this last number, remember? So this is the y-intercept. It is at negative 10, so this point's actually super close to it. And then if you reflect that over, that's only 0.25 away. So 0.25 away on the other side would be about right in there. And that's giving me 5 points. Those points are really close, but I'll let that be the 5 points since that's what we've been practicing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put that down for the y-intercept. It was negative 10. 0, negative 10. Okay, so that one was solving by quadratic formula. You've got one more. This one says solve. Actually, it's going to say solve using any method. It's not going to say quadratic formula again. Okay, so this one, pick your method. Any method. Alright, go ahead and give that a try, and then I'm actually going to be making another video to finish this up. So this will be the end of video 1, and video 2 will also include a picture of the answer key at the very end.